You're listening to the Agent and the Fan podcast with sports agent Chris Leible and fan Lou Columna.
Welcome, everybody, to the Agent and the Fan podcast. I'm Chris Leible. I'm the agent. I'm here with my man, Lou Columna. He's the fan. Lou, what's going on? How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm fantastic, man. A lot going on. It's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, so this is a really unique episode. It's not our first time on the road, but it's not something we do all the time. But we actually took this podcast to a very special night locally here by me in New Jersey, a little further from where you live, Lou. But we actually went to historic Hinchliffe Stadium, which is in Paterson, New Jersey, and it's home of the New Jersey Jackals, which is an independent league baseball team. And we actually had Agent and the Fan podcast night at the Jackals game. And it really was a great, I think a great thing to do and a great place. It was a fun, we used it all as a fundraiser for the legit baseball club 12U Cooperstown team. And I think that really was, it was great. We had a nice crowd there and the game was fantastic. The stadium is phenomenal. We interviewed some of the players, which is we're gonna get to shortly, and you'll see and meet some of the players. And it's a kind of a little bit of a different situation. The independent league players, for those who don't know, are players that are not with affiliated teams. So just as it says, independent league players, they're looking to get to affiliated baseball. Some of them had been there. Some of them are hoping to get there one day. Obviously, the ultimate goal is always to get to the major leagues, but not everybody can get there right away. And there are certainly plenty of stories of guys who have gotten there. So we interviewed some of the players, and I thought it was very interesting and fun to see some of these guys. They all seem like great kids, and they're obviously all great baseball players. It's just the minor leagues are very concise now, and it's very tough to get affiliated jobs. But I thought it was fun to do, and I enjoyed doing it. And you guys will make your own judgment on it. But what do you think, Lou?
I thought it was great. I think for me, it was, we always talk about, the major leagues and to a certain extent, the minor leagues. But the independent league, those guys are hungry, right? Those guys want to get there. And to see those, how they've gotten there so far, to your point, some of the guys made it to the minors and are trying to work their way back, and you see the struggles and you see what they've gone through. So I think it was really cool, and also to see it up close, right? And you're like, man, this guy's huge. And like he throws this, he throws that, but it just shows you how hard it is to make it to each level. Because I thought these guys were talented and strong and big, but it's not all about that. There's a lot more to that, and a lot of these guys, as you know, and you'll hear in the interviews, went through struggles with injuries and things like of that nature. So, but I thought it was fascinating, and I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's great too, and it's great to hear the different stories, and hopefully, all of them.
Local guys, by the way.
What's that?
A couple of local guys.
Yeah, local guys. But hopefully, some of these guys, if not more than some, will find their way back and maybe even get to the Major League Baseball. And maybe we'll say, hey, look at our guy. Somebody that us and our viewers can and subscribers can follow and kind of get behind and root for. So I thought that was I think it's very cool. So
yeah, it just shows to me the dream, right? Like, it doesn't matter. They're playing, independent. They want to get there. Like, that dream is still alive. And to me, that's amazing.
So without any hesitation, let's take us straight to Hinchliffe Stadium, Paterson, New Jersey, New Jersey Jackals. And so you can meet some of the players and some of our guests over there. Okay, here we are, Hinchliffe Stadium, Agent of the Fan podcast. Special guest here, Jake Koopsmanner. Jake, it's good to have you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So Lou.
So Jake, first of all, where are you from?
I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh wow, so you're a long ways from home.
Yeah.
So where'd you go to school?
I went to college at East Carolina.
Okay. So what position did you play?
I'm a pitcher.
Oh, nice, pitcher, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So how did you get here? What was the process? Were scouts looking at you through college, through high school? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Not really heavily scouted out of high school or college from the pro ranks. Had a good college career, solid, like never really lit up the radar gun, I guess. So played 5 years at East Carolina and then got hurt during my 5th year.
Oh, wow.
Tommy John after my 5th year, rehabbed it, and then this is my first season back.
Oh, wow. So how'd you get here?
Yeah, so I was training in High Point, North Carolina, which Bert was formerly with the High Point Rockers.
Okay.
So he came and watched the bullpen and then did some spring training stuff with the High Point Rockers. And then after spring training, came here. And then, yeah.
That's awesome. So tell us, what's your repertoire? What's your go-to pitch, your secondary pitches?
Yeah.
How do you feel about your game now, having been removed from Tommy John?
Yeah, so, at first, Tommy John, it's a weird thing. It's kind of a toss-up usually. Thankfully, I had a good coach kind of walking me through that. He had been through it before, so I had a really good experience rehabbing that. And then now it's kind of so my pitches are I throw a fastball, changeup, curveball, and a slider. Mostly fastball, changeup. Then we'll mix in the curveball, and then sliders. Like if we've got nothing else, kind of working that day. But mostly I like the changeup. Changeup's my best pitch, so I go with that one a lot.
Now you said you made a good point that Tommy John is a 50-50 proposition. How did you come back throwing? Did you throw harder? Did you feel different?
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting process because for like the first 5 or 6 months I didn't really throw, just kind of rehabbing, getting stronger, and then started picking up a ball again. Whatever that time it was. For that first 5 or 6 months of throwing, so about 12 months out, I was like, I don't think I got it. It was scary. I was like, I'm probably gonna hang it up.
But you weren't ready.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, to be honest with you. And then stories I had heard was eventually just kind of you get back to normal, which is I'm just praying for that one day to come. When's it gonna happen? And then thankfully it did. I got back to where I was at the end of college, velocity and stuff wise. So definitely not a fun process, but glad I stuck it out.
But you're here and you're doing your thing. Obviously, this is a great organization. It's a very cool, historic ballpark to play in.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to be here and you're trying to get yourself on track and get going. But obviously, you also have, as a major league player, as a professional baseball player, you have aspirations to hopefully get to the major league someday.
Yeah.
So, kind of talk about that, your path, and kind of how you're seeing yourself where you are now.
Yeah, I don't. This is my first experience playing professionally, so it's just kind of learning as we go, I guess, is the best way to do it. Talking to guys that have played affiliated ball or guys that have been up there and just hearing their stories and then trying to piece together what it takes to get there. And then obviously nothing's really in your hands. It's all in everybody else's hands. So you kind of just got to almost not look that way in a sense, just do your thing and hopefully someone takes notice to you.
Keep your eye on the prize.
Yeah, no. So listen, as a fan, he's the agent, right? Well, first of all, who did you grow up rooting for? What was your favorite player growing up? And what was your favorite team?
So I guess I'm kind of a neutral. I never really had a team. I just kind of like watching, which is, I guess, weird. I don't know. But I grew up in Ohio, and it was we had the Indians, the Guardians now, I guess, and then the Pirates. And I have two older brothers, one like the Indians, one like the Pirates, and I was kind of well, I don't want to root for either of them. So I just kind of grew up just watching.
Okay, cool.
And then same thing, we moved to Charlotte, and there's not really a team in Charlotte.
Yeah.
So it's either the Braves or the Nationals. I'm well, I don't really want to root for either of them either. So I'm well, I'll just enjoy the game. So there's pitchers I like to watch growing up. Mike Mussina was the first guy I really remember forever ago with the Yankees. And then I really like watching Walker Buehler.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal to watch. Clayton Kershaw, those guys.
And also coming back from Tommy John.
Right. So he's very good. Just pitchers here and there. I just kind of watching them and see how they do their thing. So
cool. So obviously the dream is obviously at some point, to get a chance to play affiliated ball, like Chris said, make it to the big league. Make it to the big league. That's again, as a fan, I remember I was man, if I had that, you would have to tear the uniform off of me.
Right.
It would have to be the very, very last thing before I know that I got to hang it up. You're not there yet, but do you have, goals in mind, like how you want to play this year? Do you have numbers that you're not going to tell us, but like these are the things the benchmarks that I want to hit, so hopefully, be seen and kind of evolve as a pitcher?
Yeah, I feel like I've gone down that rabbit hole of like, I want to have like a 0 ERA. I don't want to give up any hits. I don't want to walk anybody. And I feel like having that expectation kind of just like, you start chasing the wrong things.
Sure.
So it's kind of, I feel like I'm at the point where like, just want to have some fun out here, play as well as I can, and then let the rest take care of itself. So yeah, I guess that would kind of be it.
Yeah, you got an agent in Jersey, man. He's Chris has represented some really good ball players over the years, so you're in good hands here in Jersey.
Yeah. Jake, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wish you best of luck. And hopefully,
best of luck, man.
Keep progressing.
Thank you guys.
Definitely.
Doing your thing.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joining us now is Austin Parsley, another member of the New Jersey Jackals. Austin, welcome to the Agent of the Fan podcast.
So, Austin, tell us about yourself. Where you from? Who'd you root for?
Where I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. So
Wow, another guy. All right.
I played against Jake in high school.
Really?
I played with his older brother at my school.
So, who was the better pitcher, you or him?
He's not going to say.
It's a tie.
Diplomatic.
No, I did get 2 hits off him when I faced him.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about that. But,
Not too much.
but yeah, played high school ball against him. Lived in Charlotte my whole life. Actually played with his older brother as well at my school. I went to UNCG, or University of North Carolina at Greensboro. Great time there. Spent 4 years. Really great baseball over there.
That's awesome. So who did you root for growing up? What team did you like?
So I don't really have a team in particular. One of my good friends back from Charlotte, he's a Cubs fan. So I'll pull for the Cubs when I'm watching with him. And then my brother, he's a big Braves fan, so I'll pull for the Braves.
Okay.
He lives in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I'll pull for the Braves and the Cubs.
So who do you model your game after? What pitcher you feel you most resemble in terms of your repertoire?
I was just given a comparison like a couple weeks ago about this one guy named Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah.
I kind of like how he pitches. He doesn't throw too hard. He's not going to overpower. He's more crafty. He spots up his pitches. And I try to replicate that as best I can. So the pitches I throw, fastball, changeup, slider, keep it real simple.
That's awesome.
Just able to hit all
Your spots and
hit all your spots.
move the ball around.
Yeah. So most, obviously, in sports now, in baseball, they're looking at the hardest thrower. The guy who throws the hardest. But I think, we're kind of going back and Kyle Hendricks being one, Maddox being another, where you got it, the pinpoint control. And those guys, Maddox is a Hall of Famer. He didn't throw 98, 99.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that feeling of like, hey, I can get guys out given the pitches that I throw and the velocity that I throw? You feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely am working my way back there. I think that's one of my bread and butters, my location. I'm able to locate wherever you want it, whenever you want. I can come in like a 3-0 count. I'll be able to find a way to get it out. But now I'm still just figuring everything out. This past start was my first start.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Since shoulder surgery. So it's been a long road.
A rotator cuff or
yeah, so I have labrum and rotator.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a long road, definitely.
How was the rehab process?
Rehab was tough. There's been a lot of ups and downs throughout that process. But I'm really happy where I'm at today, and being able to come play here is a blessing.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
No, this is your first taste of pro ball?
I had a short stint with the High Point Rockers back in 22 after I graduated from school. And after that, I just wasn't performing where I should have been. Mm-hmm. And that's when I went to go see a doctor.
That's when you found out your arm wasn't where it was.
And I got surgery. And then I've worked a job, rehab, did all that. And I was like, all right, I'm going to focus on baseball now. Give it all I got this last go around.
For sure.
And you have a great opportunity here to do that.
No, for sure. I think that's a great way to look at it. This sport is hard, right? Yes. We talk about this all the time on our show. Like, not everybody can do this. And to be able to play at a high level and maintain that is really hard, right? And for you to come in after the surgery and just grind it, that's going to, I think, for you, I hope, going to lead to bigger and better things. And I think this is what the season is for you, right?
Right.
That's what
I've been during that rehab process. I was surrounded by a lot of great people. They helped me when it comes like those dark times. Like I don't know if they have it in me still.
Yeah.
Who did the surgery?
His name's Dr. Fleshley. I did it in Charlotte, and then I did my rehab at this place in Raleigh called Octane Baseball.
Okay.
And it's partners with Be Young Performance as well, so they give you the hands-on rehab you want and also work on the baseball performance. So
It's funny, you're from Charlotte. Charlotte doesn't have obviously a major league team, but it really is a big league city. You have you have a AAA team there, obviously, but you also have, obviously, you got the Panthers, and you got, Hurricanes, and
you got the Hornets,
You got the
Panthers.
Panthers. So it has every other sport. It has a big league team, and then obviously AAA is. I mean, that's a great place. I've been down there. It's a great place to watch a game. And
did you play any other sports in high school?
So I kind of faded away from playing football and basketball after 8th grade, and so I just went all in, like focused on baseball. So my brother, he played baseball through high school and college, so I kind of like just followed his footsteps, and I thought baseball was,
Did you get a scholarship to UNC?
So I originally didn't go to UNCG. I went to College of Charleston.
Oh, okay.
And then I was there for a year, and then before the transfer portal became what it is now, I had to go to JUCO for a year. So I had to go to JUCO for a year in Florida.
Where was that?
St. John River State.
Oh, okay.
In Palatka, Florida.
Yep.
30-40 minutes from Gainesville. But went there for a year and then ended up back at UNCG because they offered me in high school, and then they offered me again, and I was like, I guess it's a sign to go here.
Yeah.
Everything worked out. It was some of the best.
And it's Florida.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So and here you are. You're playing pro ball, and you got the dreams alive, and see what happens. Austin, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So joining us now is Mike Gutierrez. Mike, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir.
Great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So, Mike, talk to where you're from.
I'm from Garfield, New Jersey.
Oh, so you're right around here.
Yes, sir.
You didn't go far.
That's great. That's great. Actually, so it's funny. I'm actually coaching for a club team. We just moved to Garfield. We have a facility over there in Garfield now, which is called Legit
Baseball.
Yeah, you know
you guys
those
were in
guys.
Saddlebrook.
Yeah, we were in we're in Saddlebrook. Well, the guy who runs it, Steve Spittle, he actually pitched for the Jackals back in the day.
Sweet.
He'll be here in a little while, but and he's the baseball coach at Glen Rock now.
Okay.
Where he lives.
I grew up versing Glen Rock.
Okay, yeah. So I'm from Glen Rock myself.
Nice.
So, but he had a facility in East Rutherford, and then he moved to his industrial park over in Garfield.
Okay.
So we're over there now.
Lanza
Boulevard. Yeah.
Correct.
So we're right there, and then actually we practice on there's a field not too far from there that we practice on.
Okay.
That's just my son's over there running around. He's plays 12U now.
Gotcha.
So I coach that team for him, and my other son plays 10U, both for Legit. So yeah, that's great. That's great. So now you went to Garfield. You went to Garfield High School.
Yes, sir.
And then where'd you go to college?
I went to Felician University.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So and you played there at pitcher?
Yes, all 4 years, all 5 years with COVID.
Okay, gotcha.
So how did it go for you? Like, was it something, a new experience for you in terms of, obviously it's a lot different from high school. What was the biggest jump that you noticed when you went from high school to college?
Honestly, I never had that big jump because when I was like 13, 14 years old, I was playing with 18-year-old kids already. My Hispanic father had me playing with older guys on the field. And it was a good time and a good experience. Got me ready to get to that level.
No, that's awesome.
It was an easy adjustment, nothing different.
Oh, that's good. So tell us about yourself in terms of your pitching repertoire. What are your pitches? What are your strengths you feel? And what do you think you need to work on a little bit more?
So I throw a fastball, curveball, changeup, slider. Working on a splitter right now.
Okay. Have you had any surgeries?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
My biggest strength would be I'm more of a strikeout guy.
Okay.
Try to attack hitters as much as I can, but at the same time, my biggest thing I have to work on is trying to be in the zone and command and get outs instead of walks.
Okay.
So
walks are the killer.
Walks are killer. They've always been my nightmare.
Yeah, and they're everybody's nightmare. But if you have trouble come in the strike zone, then it really is your killer.
So the biggest thing, you're a Northeast kid. Obviously, if you look at players getting drafted, and a lot of these players are coming out of, they're coming out of the South, the Midwest,
Texas, California, Arizona.
What was the challenges for you as a Northeast kid, being seen and being recognized, to have your name out there and people know who you are?
It was very difficult, honestly, especially like you said, down south and west. It was always difficult going down there. I remember from Felicia University, we would go down there spring training and go play in February the whole time down there, while they were ready in 10 games in.
10 games in.
We were nowhere near ready.
Not ready, yeah.
We were not ready. And the competition's a lot better out there because they're playing all year round. Over here, snow, all winter. It's
Can't get outside.
We're indoors, and it's a whole different ballgame
It's different.
out here.
100%.
But what I also noticed about the Northeast kids is that those kids are going to college, right? So there's a lot of players in the Northeast who will end up going to college, like yourself, and then end up getting drafted, right? I think that's the biggest difference. To your point, you're not playing a lot of games throughout the year.
Correct.
And, I'm assuming you play indoors sometimes. It's not the same, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
For you, at what point did you say, okay, first of all, did you play other sports in high school?
In high school, I played football and basketball.
Okay, so what made you decide, all right, at what point did you say, okay, I'm going to stick with baseball? What was the impetus for that?
It was mainly my father, because I was always the kid that wanted to play, and my friends and everything, and he kind of pulled me aside and did not let me participate anymore in those sports.
So he made the decision for you.
A lot of coaches were seeing the talent I had at that age.
Yeah.
And they said, your son's going to make money doing baseball.
Business decision.
It was a business decision by my father.
All right. So where's
your dad from, by the way? Where's your dad from?
My dad is originally from Mexico.
Okay.
Yes.
So what was your favorite sport?
My favorite
Of the
sport
three.
was baseball. It was always fun to me. All of my buddies, we used to grow up and do it every day. Back in the day, we used to go to Little League and stay there from the morning until night and get in trouble by our parents.
Nice. All in Garfield.
That's it. All in Garfield.
That's great. Now, is this your first pro baseball experience?
No. So 2 years ago, I was with High Point Rockers. Right out of college, they gave me a spot start, and it went very well.
Really?
After the start, my elbow was giving me issues. So I had one elbow surgery, and then the following winter, I signed with Gateway Grizzlies, and I had another surgery on my elbow during the winter.
Was it you have Tommy John?
No, I had a ulnar nerve decompression and scar tissue cleanup.
Okay.
All minor stuff after years of throwing.
And what was that process like, the rehab process? Was it hard? Did you have doubts at times?
It was very frustrating, depressing. It was very hard for me because I was a kid that never got hurt. It was my first time ever getting an injury.
Yeah.
So you came back. So you've come back. Now your fastball back to where it was.
It's in the works right now. I'm in right now to
what's your
5th month enjoying.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're still coming back.
Yeah.
What's your velo? Where do you like to be?
The last time in college, I was up to 96.
Okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
So everything's coming back smooth, painless.
Good.
Everything's good.
And you just keep grinding here, and you're gonna, the opportunities will be there.
That's the dream.
Keep ramping it up.
That's the reason we're here.
Yeah, 100%.
First healthy season.
That's
great.
good.
That's great. Well, it's great to have you on here. Appreciate you coming on.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Guys.
Thank you.
My homeboy. We are joined here now by the general manager of the New Jersey Jackals, Mr. John Hunt. John, thank you so much for, first of all, coming on.
John.
No,
Second of all, just the
I
hospitality.
got to be here anyways. I have to be in the building anyway, so why not do? Why not come on the podcast? They make me live here. Almost.
No, we appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Yep. No, thank you so much for coming on. It's great to be here. So we are here at a really special place, which I want you to talk a little bit about it. I know a little bit about it, but this is Hinchliffe Stadium in Paterson, New Jersey. And it's a beautiful ballpark. It's a really cool place. It's something that was redone recently.
Yes.
But there's a ton of history here going back to the Negro Leagues.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the top players played on this. Some of the top players in the history of the game played right on this field.
Exactly. Hinchliffe Stadium was built in the 1930s. One of the most famous African-American players of all time, Larry Doby, is from Paterson, played on this field. The New York Black Yankees, the New York Cubans also played on this field. And if you're not big on your Negro League history, those teams came about in a time when we didn't all get along the way we do today, and things were very different. And so what would happen is there are people in the Yankees organization that owned the teams in the Negro Leagues. And when their teams like Chicago or New York or Boston would go out of town, fans still wanted baseball because New York's a very busy place.
Yeah.
So they would bring out the New York Black Yankees or the New York Cubans, the Eagles and teams like that to play in games. And a lot of those games were right here in Hinchliffe. Through the years, you may have seen the videos. I know before I took the job, I did my homework and I saw videos of what this stadium looked like even 3 years ago. Wow. There were trees growing through the stands. There was graffiti all over the place. Homeless people were living in the building. There were many police actions, in the building before it was redone. Since that has happened, the crime has dropped drastically. Everything that Mayor Saya has done in this area of town has really helped this area begin the growth.
Baseball really is always good to do, and it just in so many different ways, but this is certainly a great example.
Exactly. And now we have the Negro League Museum open. They were hoping to have it open last year. It didn't quite happen, but it is open. Now you can come to Jackals games 1 hour before the game, and you can get into the Negro League Museum.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's right really from the field. So come in a little bit early. You can go to the Negro League Museum, and it will be open until just a little bit after the game starts. They're still short-staffed. They're still hiring staff at the Negro League Museum, so they hope to have it open on normal business hours. But if you have a large group, you can contact Jessica at the museum, and you can set up a large group in advance.
That's so cool.
By contacting the museum. I should have looked up what their website was, but
check it out. You'll check it out.
Yeah. Now, are there things that were in the Negro League Museum that are here? The one in Kansas City?
No, it's completely different.
Okay.
This is based on things in Paterson. A lot of things that had to do with Hinchliffe. There's even midget car. Am I allowed to say midget car? But it's about a car. It's about a car. It's not about little people. It's about a car. I was joking with one of my bosses. I won't say which one, Mike. At a meeting in the office, and I said, and the midgets are there, and Mike said, what? And I said, no, we're not talking about you, buddy. We're talking about the cars in the Negro League Museum. Get a needle at my boss. If I have a job tomorrow. But anyways, but yeah, there's a lot of history here. They boxed here, there was wrestling here, and there was baseball, and they ran track here. So there were a lot of different things that happened in Hinchliffe.
But you brought up Larry Doby's name. Larry Doby, is really a legendary player. If you don't know him, you check him out. But Larry Doby, really underappreciated. Because Jackie Robinson correctly gets a lot of the credit for what he did. But Larry Doby, there was a lot more Southern teams in the American League, and Larry Doby was the second one to break the line, and he was a great ball player.
Yeah, the first in the American League to cross the color barrier,
and he just really was a great player, but also did a lot. And he was a local guy. He's from right here in Paterson, and played on this field. And he's not the only one. You're talking about Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell, some of the all-time greats in the history of the game. If you do not know them, please, if you're a fan of our show, look them up, check them out. Do you know Cool Papa Bell was so fast, he would turn the lights out and be in bed before he would turn the light switch off and be in bed.
Sounds like a Chuck Norris joke.
He did it. Cool Papa Bell did it.
So how many games are played here per year?
Well, the Jackals have 48 home games.
Okay.
We are now game 4 into the season. The Jackals are 3-0 at home right now. So the home crowd, we appreciate you coming out, being loud, being rowdy. We've worked really hard to make improvements to the stadium, improvements for the fans. The parking is improved. There's more parking.
So the concession stands, easier for me to say, look fantastic. They have great food and drink beverages. And
now, again, you can make a day of it. Saturday or Sunday, you're off work. You can walk the falls and then come in the ballpark, visit the Negro League Museum, and then watch a game all in the same day.
The Paterson Falls are right. The Paterson Falls are right around here. Beautiful places. And also you have the also from here, Lou Costello from Abbott and Costello, and he has a park here and a statue in the park right around the corner here.
The park is gorgeous.
And by the way, And by the way, also that was featured in The Sopranos.
Yes.
A couple of scenes.
Oh, by the way, speaking of The Sopranos, see, I didn't get the plugs
who's
in.
buried here? Who's buried here?
The plugs in. No, but we are having Italian Heritage Night in June. You have to look on our schedule to get that, or grab one of our pocket schedules. But we have a Friday night game where we will dress as the Wise Guys. The Wise Guys came about when it was the Can-Am League and COVID came. And so Sussex, the Boulders, and us all put 2 teams each together, and we played in our own COVID league, if you will.
Nice.
And one of the teams in the COVID league was the Wise Guys.
That is
so
cool.
we are bringing back the Wise Guys with the green Wise Guys jerseys that you'll be able to bid on for
that
charity
is
auction
cool.
after the game.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
I mean, we have so many great things coming up this year. And the fans are starting to embrace it a little bit. Things are different than they were last year.
Kids running all over.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
fantastic. I love this.
Yesterday we had, or the day before yesterday, we had a kids game that we ended up having to turn into a doubleheader because of the rain. I've never seen more kids running around after foul balls than all over the ball.
But that's a great point, because this is a great family atmosphere.
Yes.
The kids are
100%.
running around, the players are interacting with them, and everybody's having a great time. This is a really great place to come, and we appreciate you have agent and fan
yes.
day here at Hinchliffe Stadium for the New Jersey Jackals. John, thank you so much for coming on.
No,
Appreciate
guys,
it, man. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. I'll
Pleasure,
work
man.
with you guys anytime.
Thanks a lot.
You, man. Take
All right,
care.
here's the $5 I got to
Thank you.
Well, I really think that was great. And I want to just give a special thank you to John Hunt, the general manager, who is just a great guy. And he was, yeah, I mean, the hospitality from him and his staff, everybody was great. They set us up. They brought us guests. It was just a great experience. It was great to be there. A lot of fun. The kids, I know our kids were running around having a blast. If you're local in the New Jersey area, I highly recommend go to see the Jackals. The fan experience is fantastic. Half our kids walked away with baseballs. I know my son got batting. Somebody gave him batting gloves.
Yeah.
I know one kid, maybe more than one. I saw one kid walk out of there with a bat.
Yeah.
Mascots running around. It's just a very, very cool venue. In the history, as we talked about while we were during our interview process of that stadium and some of the legends that played there.
Yeah, and the Negro League Museum that's behind the field.
The Negro League Museum is phenomenal, and that's something that actually we can get into a little bit to talk about. But since we were last on, they've added the Negro League statistics now to Major League Baseball. So a lot of the things have changed. So the guys like Josh Gibson and Cool Papa Bell, Satchel Paige, and their statistics, but particularly the guys, Satchel Paige did end up playing in the big leagues, maybe a little past his prime, but their statistics are now counting, which is really cool because they're being recognized for their accomplishments because they were great baseball players. It's a shame that we'll never see them mixing in with the great players of that time. But now I think Major League Baseball is doing a great job by making sure they're being recognized, and it's certainly making changes. And I was reading the thing; it's interesting, and perhaps we could talk about it a little bit. Ty Cobb is now no longer the leading hitter in the history of baseball, which is forever. And now it's Josh Gibson, who was a great power hitting. I think maybe some people, or the people who know Josh, know of him, don't realize that he was a great hitter. Also, he's a great power hitter, and he was like the Babe Ruth of the Negro Leagues at the time. But Josh Gibson, also is now the leading hitter of all time, and which is amazing. And I know that it's a shame that we didn't get to see him with Babe Ruth and, get to see them side by side and see a comparison, or players like him, or Cool Papa Bell, who was so fast, and, all those great players. But it's great that it's being recognized, and people are, to me, baseball is always about those discussions. Very tough to compare eras, right, Lou?
Without question. I mean, I think they righted it wrong. But to your point, these guys that, came, after, let's talk, like Jackie Robinson, the Larry Dobies, the statue obviously past his prime, but he got there. Bob Gibbs, we go on and on and on, to it's bittersweet, right? Like these guys, could have competed, hand in hand, with these other guys. But this is where we are now. I think that, MLB did a great job by, again, righting this wrong. And
just the recognition, I think, of the players is the key thing. Again, baseball is always up for debate. I don't know about your kids. My kids argue with me all the time and tell me, "Oh my God, this guy couldn't have hit this era, whatever."
Hell yeah, I get that all the time.
I mean, and then we talk about it in other sports too. In basketball, we say like, "Oh, well, LeBron is, he's look at like how much better he is than these guys." I'm going like, did you ever see like when they would play the Pistons and like what they did to Michael Jordan, and LeBron's like looks like a feather would knock. He as giant as he is and strong, he's always falling down and getting hurt, and then I'm going like, I
tell my kids, at least my guys pitch 9 innings, not 5. Call it a quality start.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. But I think, like, listen, baseball, my point is that baseball is always going to be based on those comparisons, and it's impossible, in my opinion, to compare eras, but it's fun to be able to say, hey, was Josh Gibson a better hitter than Ty Cobb? I don't know. We weren't around for that.
But
maybe old, but not that old. But but I also, another point I just wanted to make was I loved hearing from Ty Cobb's family, and Ty Cobb's family had said that this was something that needed to be done, and they weren't sour grapes at all, which they could have been. And I wanted to also say a little something. There was a movie made about Ty Cobb. There was a book written about him by a writer. Wasn't there, didn't know him, don't know anything about him. I mean, I know a lot about him. You hear a lot of stories and a lot of urban legends. There's one very strong prevailing belief that Ty Cobb was, not a great person, was a racist, all these different things. But then there's another side that says, no, that none of that was true. There was just a reporter who didn't like him and had an issue with him and had an axe to grind and basically created this image of him that's lasted for a lot of time. I know a lot of his family has been very protective and saying, no, that wasn't the person we knew, and we didn't think of him like that at all. And so, I mean, I happen to love the movie Cobb, but as with a lot of movies, a lot of it might not be real. So it's very hard to say what really happened. And I know it's a deeper issue for maybe another time, but I want that side to be seen and known that, the Cobb family was extremely supportive of this, judgment and decision, even though it knocked, their legendary family member out of the, top spot.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I was actually listening to something else regarding something similar about the movie 42, where they were, when Pee Wee Reese, put his arm around Jackie, and that also has become an urban legend. And again, this is what I love about baseball is you can track the history. Like, we don't even know, it's like Cooperstown, right? And Abner Doubleday. Did he really? But there's that myth, and to me, that it's all part of it, and I love that.
And the thing is, like, people are saying, like, oh my God, this guy didn't throw that. They didn't. Every pitcher throws 90, 99 miles an hour now. Back then, they were throwing 80 or whatever it was. But then I also tell my kids, I'm like, yeah, but they were throwing a shot put. It wasn't even a baseball like today that goes flying. They were throwing this like heavy ball. So who knows? We don't know, and you don't know. But that's what makes it fun, and that's, I think, one of the things about baseball that makes it always interesting. That you could take generations, and you could take. My dad always stood behind that Jackie Robinson was the best player we saw. He said he might not have been, the most powerful or whatever it was, but he said like Jackie Robinson would always. He would find a way to win the game for you any way he could, and whatever it was. If he had to steal base, he'd steal base. If he wasn't a big home run hitter, but if he had to hit a homer, he did a homer. And whatever it was, he would steal a sign. Anything he could do to help the team. Again, it's an intangible thing, right? You can't just go, well, Jackie Robinson, look at his stats. Also, he didn't come to the big league still. He was at least 28. But you don't know. But you could take stats, but comparing eras is always different, and It's always fun to be able to do that. And you could always go back and say like, hey, Ricky Henderson, great one, the greatest base stealer of all time. Somebody from the old era, like my grandfather my grandfather used to go to Negro League games all the time. And he would, would tell me about some of the old players. He might be like, cool, Papa Bell is better than Ricky Henderson. I mean, you just think about those two guys right there. That might be the comparison.
Well, listen, I play MLB The Show, and I use those guys against the new guys with my son, and I always win. I'm just saying.
Well, there you go. There you go. So, but no, very interesting. And I think that again, back to the original point, check it out. Jackals. It's a really fun experience, especially if you have kids, even if you don't, to go in there. You're right on top of the action. You're seeing great baseball being played, and it's a fun experience for you and your family. So
without question, we had a blast. I would do it again. So,
yeah, we may do it again very soon, actually. Yeah, so we'll have to see. So it was great. It was a really nice night. So,
but let's get into the swing of things, man. Let's talk Major League Baseball. I'll let you start with the Mets.
Well, the Mets have been struggling, Lou, and it's the fans are panicking, and I think if you were a Mets fan, you'd be in not so good shape. You might not be as happy as you seem today, and I think that the Mets. I know a lot of the fans are coming to me and telling me, people that I know and see and deal with are telling me they got to start selling. This is done with. I don't necessarily subscribe to that theory. To me, it's a long season where, we're just hit June and we're really in the early stages. So I think it's something you have to think about as the days go on. But I still think with the wild card and so many teams making it, and as bad as they've played, I think they're not that far away from, if their closer situation was a little better, they'd be in a lot better position. Unfortunately, it hasn't been. Yeah. Diaz is hurt now, which has been rough, but when he was healthy, it was probably even rougher because he really struggled. So I think that, that's always very tough. I think people don't, again, this is one of these things that I'll say as an agent and somebody who worked in the front office of a team, it's very difficult to, when you're winning games late in the game and you lose the game, it's almost like you're like, here we go again, almost every night. And it's a very tough situation. Edwin Diaz has blown a lot of saves, and he's also come into a lot of close games, tie games, late in games, extra inning games, and lost them games or gotten into trouble. And it's just been, I think that has kind of been a snowball effect. It's kind of running down hills now. So I think there's potential there. They have to get some things straightened out, but yeah, it's been a struggle for the Mets to this point. And obviously having the Phillies, who they're going to play in London, in front of them playing it so well, very, very tough situation for the Mets. But I think the Mets got to look at it like their competition isn't the Phillies. It's these teams that are fighting for those last, couple of wild card spots. And, if you get on a little run, you never know. But, it's not looking great for the Mets so far.
Tough. I think this is where you and I differ, right? Where, we discussed this, I think, in a previous podcast with regards to the Houston Astros. They were so far behind that even if they get hot, which, by the way, they have gotten on a little run, they're still so far back. It's really hard. Like the Mets are now at 10, 11 games, they're 500. It's a battle to get to that 500. It's not,
yes.
All right. And then it's not just 500. Then you got to keep playing. It's tough, right? A lot of things that I've been hearing about also, from Met fans is also, Steve Cohen and what the difference between him and the Wilpons were. We know what the differences are. In your opinion, new ownership, Steve Cohen, we know that he brings with it. Why hasn't it worked for him since getting the team? Aside from that 100-win season.
Well, I think it's a good question. It's a tough question to answer. I think, obviously there's been some changes at the top of the people who are running the baseball side of it, right? So I think you almost have to kind of start fresh starting this year, Dave, since David Stearns came aboard. And I know Steve Cohen had made the statement, to try and win in the next 5 years or whatever when he took over. Obviously, though, a lot of things have changed. A lot of people have come and gone in that time. I think as someone running the organization, as someone who's running it from above, but letting his baseball people run the organization, he's had a lot of turnover and a lot of change. So I think it's hard to judge and go back on that. I think when it comes to the previous administrations that were in there, because I think Sandy Alderson was kind of finishing up when he first came in and kind of stayed on to try and kind of, stabilize things. And then obviously, they had a couple of things going on and who they were bringing in and things didn't work out real well with Billy Epler, and David Stern seemed like somebody who was, kind of destined to come back. He's a New York guy who started in the Mets organization and, obviously had success in a small market. So when he came back, I think the Met fans were very happy with that, but they hired a new manager and, rather than have Buck come back for the final year of his contract and, possibly create an issue down the road, Carlos Mendoza seems like he's a pretty good manager and has done a good job. And from everybody I've spoken, I don't know him, but from everybody I've spoken to the people do know him, do like him a lot. And watching the games for me, I think he's done a good job.
He hasn't cost in games.
No, I don't think so. I think, and the thing I like about him is he hasn't necessarily gone straight off the analytic book of everything. He's making some a lot of field decisions, and I prefer that from a manager. I think it shows confidence and it shows knowledge and all those things that I think that I'd be looking for from a manager. So seems like a good dude and seems like a good baseball man. So I think you have to kind of almost start from whatever it was, I think September, October, the David Stern's taking over and take it from there, so we'll see. I think, I don't think it's been a big secret. The Mets didn't go, they made a lot of moves at the break last year. And at the trade deadline, and they brought in some prospects. They replenished the farm system a little bit. I think they didn't go crazy in the offseason, spending a ton of money. They tried to get a couple of key guys, didn't work out, but I think they made some strategic signs, and they kind of were hoping things would be better than they have been. I still think they can get better, but it'll be interesting to see if they do decide to do the same thing as last year and start trading their contracts away and bringing in prospects to try and cash in before, regrouping for next year. But I think this year was kind of a targeted, I don't know if they ever publicly said it, maybe you would know, Lou, but if they ever publicly said that they were kind of letting the season kind of go, but
to the contrary, they said they were a playoff team.
They said they were going to try and compete, but I don't think.
No. Cohen and Stern both said that they were a playoff team. Right?
Okay, but I don't think they didn't go all in.
I don't think. Listen, this is my feeling on it. I think they definitely said it. Did they in their heart believe it? Who knows? What are you going to tell your fan base? No, we're not a playoff team. So I think that has something to do with it. But putting on your agent hat now, the talk is about Juan Soto, right? With the, as it's been the whole year. I'm of the belief, if the Mets don't listen, my biggest fear is the Mets. As a Yankee fan, I'm going to tell you, my biggest fear is the Mets getting Juan Soto. But if I look at it, if the Mets are how they are playing now, and they revamp and they sell this guy off and then bring rookies, if you're Juan Soto, why would you go to the Mets? We get the money, right? He's going to get paid regardless. regardless, he's going to get paid. We're not talking pennies here. So if the money's equal, what's that incentive to go to the other side, to the Mets, when you see what they're going through, when you already have experienced a year in New York, in the Bronx, knock on wood, so far it's been great. And, that's, that part of it is interesting to me.
Well, obviously the season will have to play out, and we'll see what the Yankees do. Obviously, we'll get into it a little bit more, but they're playing great. The team's been everything they could ask for. Garrett Cole hasn't even pitched, and they've been fantastic. Obviously, Aaron Judge has been absolutely on fire lately, and certainly a guy like that can carry you. Soto's having a great start to the season with the Yankees too, and they certainly are exceeding expectations, even for those who thought they were a very good team. So, you got to give all that credit. To answer your question, okay, and you kind of answered it yourself. And to quote Nino Brown, New Jack City, money talk, bullshit runs the marathon.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, again, he's going to get paid, okay? The Yankees will make him a great offer. There's no question in my mind. Will he take that offer? I don't know. Will it be $400 million? Will it be $500 million? Will it be $1 billion? I don't know what they're going to offer him. But if it's more, whatever the number is that Steve Cohen offers, and if Steve Cohen offers, whatever it is, again, variables, we could, whatever it is, if you make up the number you think the Yankees are going to offer him, Lou, what do you got?
I mean, I think it has to be north of 525.
Okay, so let's say it's 525 and Steve Cohen offers 750.
He's going to the Mets.
He's going to go to the Mets, okay? And that's it. And I know what you're saying.
But if we're talking realistic numbers, right? 525 is a realistic number.
Okay. Well, let's say the Yankees go best and final offer 525, and Steve Cohen goes best and final offer 600. Okay.
He's probably going to go to the Mets.
He's going to go to
He's going to go to the Mets.
He's going to go to the Mets.
But here's the thing, though, and that's fine, right? And I think every team has a threshold, whether it be the Yankees or Mets, whoever it is. And my feeling, and we've had this conversation before, is you're seeing he goes for 5. He's 25 years old, going to be 26 years old. He's going to another team that you better sign Pete Alonso, right? Because who are you going to have protecting him? You better go. Then you're going all out, right? And I think that is where he got into trouble, in my opinion, earlier on with the Lindor contract. Paying, I was going to say Saberhagen. I'm thinking of the Mets. Paying Verlander and Scherzer.
Okay, but those weren't long commitments.
Okay? No. I understand that. But I'm saying
AAVs were high.
No, exactly. And I think, in my opinion, he got kind of like, hey, I'm going to get these guys in, and you really got to build a team, right? And I learned this the hard way as a Yankee fan. That those 90s teams were amazing, right? But it started to go downhill for the Yankees, in my opinion, when you start trying to get an all-star at every position, when you try to get the 100%. Jason Giambi, and that doesn't work. In baseball, that doesn't work. And, you need gamers, right? You need those type of guys, which is, again, why I feel like those 90s Yankee teams were so beloved, right? Because you had all these homegrown guys. They brought in the Tim Raines of the world, the Strawberries of the world, which you're going to discuss in a minute. And I think that is that's the key. Listen, right?
100%. If you go back to the Mets when I was working there in the late 90s, okay, I was talking about this with, I can't remember who I was discussing this with, but some of these guys, I might have been not even on here, but some of the guys that the Mets had on those teams that were off the bench, that were, forget about just going off the bench, Melvin Mora, Darrell Hamilton, Lenny Harris, Matt Franco, I mean, the list goes on. Bobby Bowe, Ricky Henderson, Roger Cedeno were like platoon. Like one of those guys was always on the bench. Like it was. I mean, they were all different. It was like pick your flavor. You can get whatever you want on the bench. You look at the benches now of some of these teams. You're like, who are these people?
Who are these guys? I mean, you go back to the 80s Mets. You're talking about like Kevin Mitchell was coming off the bench.
Kevin Mitchell, Rusty Staub, Lee Mazzilli, guys like that. But my point is, at the end of the day, and if you look at here's another thing. The other day I was at the stadium. We'll talk about Daryl's special day and his retirement. But I was with Turk Wendell, who's an old friend of mine who I had with the Mets back in the day. Turk Wendell,
original 99.
Turk Wendell told me that he had him and Roger Cedeno who's my client, and I didn't even know this. They had a discussion at the beginning of the season. Turk told Roger, "I'm going to pitch in more games this year than you will steal bases." Roger, I think, stole 72 bases, and Turk won because Turk pitched in 81 games. Okay, he pitched every other game. Okay, but on that team, I will just obviously they had John Franco as the closer, who was our recent guest of ours, and Armando Benitez, who was like a young flamethrower. Okay, those were two back of the bullpen like guys that could close out anybody anytime. But they had Turk Wendell, who was a reliable arm for Bobby V. They had Dennis Cook, who was a nasty lefty who would get guys out. They had, we can go on and on with the Pat Mahomes Sr., who was a like reliable, right-handed arm to come in there and get guys out. Those are just three quick names, off the top of my head that, those were three reliable bullpen arms on top of the two closers that you had. I mean, that's five great relief pitchers just right there. And there were others, Greg McMichael, who was like a sinker ball guy. If you get a ground ball, you need him. Again, pick your flavor. These were well-constructed, great teams. And, they went and got these guys and they built around them. And I think that's what you have to do. And that's to your point. And that's, I think at the end of the day, that's what you're looking to do. But to go back to Juan Soto and what he's going to do and where he's going to go, I do think he will go with the most money. If you're talking about $1 million or $2 million difference, that might be different. But, maybe the Yankees will go toe-to-toe with Steve Cohen and say, listen, we got to get this guy and get it done. But if Pete Alonso gets traded at the All-Star break, which we'll talk about another show, or doesn't, I still don't. I think Juan Soto could come. And again, we've talked about this too with Yamamoto. We talked about this with Ohtani and Yamamoto. Maybe Juan Soto wants to be the man. Maybe he wants to finally be the man and say, the Yankees are Aaron Judge's team. It's going to be Aaron Judge's team. Okay? Maybe he wants to come here, start fresh, and, the Mets front office, with David Stearns and Steve Cohen, leading the charge, are going to say, hey, listen, we're going to build this organization around you. You're our guy, and everything will go from there. We're starting over. We're starting from scratch, and whatever it is, if this doesn't end well for the Mets. So, again, there's a lot of variables. It comes down to personality. It comes down to things. But I think you as a fan are being naive if you think that he's not going to go with the most money.
No. Don't get me wrong. He's going to go with the most money. My feeling is, but again, we always talk about this as well, right? Steve Cohen is a billionaire for a reason, right? He's not, I don't feel.
He's not going to be an idiot with his money. I agree.
Exactly. So if the going rate is 5, he's not going to say, I'm going to give you 750. Right?
No, I agree. I was just using it as an example.
What I'm saying is, if we're talking like realistic money,
But if David's,
if it's 550, let's say it's 525, like we discussed, right? Steve Cohen, for him to go to the Mets, would have to be at that 580 range, because at 550, I don't think he's going to jump ship.
I disagree with you.
But we've seen that, right? I mean,
you don't think Scott Boras is going to,
right?
You don't think Scott Boras is going to say, hey, that's 25, 20. Listen, you could, again, I have this discussion with friends all the time. You guys have to understand, you're the fan, that $25 million is a lot of money. 550 to 525, that's a lot of money. I know you guys think it doesn't matter when you're making that much money, but it does matter. And I'm telling you right now,
I'll tell you
the players, it matters.
I tell you, Madison, because I look at this. I look at it like this. And first of all, we've seen it. Granted, it's not at the level of Juan Soto. So I'm going to preface it by saying that. But the free agents that he had last offseason, right? They're going to make this. Blake Snell, I'm not getting. He's $200 million. Where's Blake Snell now? Matt Chapman again. Granted, they're not at the level of Juan Soto. I get it. I'm not. But my point to you is, there comes a time. Every player is different. Jose Ramirez took less money to stay in Cleveland.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this scenario. Again, these are all made up scenarios. We do not know what's going to happen. But we're talking about the scenario that Steve Cohen offers substantially more money than what his going rate is. He will be with the Mets. Again, maybe Juan Soto's the Jose Ramirez of this and stays with the Yankees for, and says, I'll forget this.
So let me ask you this. As an agent, I think I know your answer, but I'm just going to preface it. I'm just going to say this. You have a guy, let's just say you have Juan Soto, right? You have Juan Soto, 525. He's happy. He won a World Series. He's competitive. He sees, no disrespect, he sees what's happening on with the Mets and the mess is going on there. Steve Cohen says, I want you no matter what. We're going to build around you. By the way, you can say we're going to build around you. First of all, Steve Cohen hasn't showed you that he can do that. Number one, respectfully, he hasn't showed you can do that. Number two, building around you, it's not going to be in a year or two. It's going to be a couple of years, right? At least, you know what I mean? So if you're the agent and you're like, listen, man, the Yankees are giving you, 525. Listen, I can get him to 540. Steve Cohen's offering you, 575, 580. That to me is what. But because you talk, this is the talk. When I have questions about agents, right? Yes, you're in it for the highest dollar, right? But also, you're supposed to be their agent. You're looking out for them in terms of where is this guy going to? Hey, Juan, are you happy here? Do you have everything you need? Do all these things check your boxes, right? The money. Again, we're not talking. Hey, and I know you say that it doesn't matter, but I'm like, if I'm making $10 million and somebody's offering me $18 million.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter.
I'm going to go with that too, but
I'm not saying, Lou,
500 plus million.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying depending on the personality, it doesn't matter. But if your company that you work for comes to you today and says, hey, we want to keep you with your company, we're going to pay you this, and another company comes out of nowhere and says, hey, we're nobodies and we've done nothing in the business, but we're going to offer you 20% more than what they're offering you, you're going to go there because you have a wife, you have kids.
Oh, okay, without question.
I'm going to do the same thing.
Without question. But,
okay. Now, again, I'm not saying, look, there are people, and I know people who will take less money because they're comfortable and happy. And I know, I can tell you, I've had this discussion with clients. And again, at the end of the day, for me as an agent, what I'm looking at is I'm bringing what I have to the table. What what I get at the table, I'm bringing to my client. I'm saying, this is what it is. Here's what's good about it. Here's what's bad about it. Here's what we do. Here's what we don't, type of thing. I'm not, again, this is me. Okay. Now I'm not Scott Boras and I'm not, whoever, name an agent. But I would bring to my clients and say, this is the Mets offer. This is what they're offering. This is your situation. The situation there. This is the Yankees. This is the Yankees over. This is the situation there. Obviously, there could be other teams. There could be so many other things. Maybe he goes to the Dodgers like everybody else. But look, at the end of the day, I'm not making that decision. Okay. Now, I might say to my client, I strongly recommend this because of this factor.
Yeah.
Or I might say, I strongly, would dissuade you from this. But at the end of the day, as Chris Leible, an agent, would say, this is your decision. You got to do what's best for you and your family, because I don't live your life. If your family's comfortable, you're happy, you think this is where it is, you just won a World Series with the Yankees, or you didn't get the ring, but you want to get the ring, and that's what's more important. Everybody has a different, everybody has a different priority. But Lou, one thing I will tell you, with most human beings, the priority is to make as much money as you can when you can make it. And I don't care if it's minimum wage to a bump above minimum wage or $550 to $575 million. It's just the fact of life. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it breaks the bubble of some people's.
No. Listen, I'm not naive to the fact, but I'm also a person who, again, like I said, if you're talking in the teens and you're offering me 20, but the other guy's offering me 40, I'm going to go with the 40, right? But also, again, these are levels we'll never know. 500, 600 million, Ohtani, 700, whatever. That, and again, look at Ohtani. That's a different example, right? But I just feel, how many of these guys signed the contract that they signed, right? They went for the most money, and we've seen it over and over and over again. And those guys either after 4 years want to get traded, or they're there and they're miserable because
they're miserable with a giant bank account.
No, but I'm saying, like, my feeling is, I'm not talking about the guy making 1.1 million, 2.15 million.
Understand?
So if you're making $35 million, of course you're going to be happy, right? You're going to be happy 6 months out of the year when you're not playing, right?
Okay, but Lou, I think what you and a lot of fans do is they miss what you're saying. You guys miss the fact in the situation is that I agree with you. Look, if a company comes to you today and says, "Hey, what are you making? I make $150,000. I'll give you $200,000. You do the same job for me." You're going to go. Okay. Everything is relative. But what I think you guys don't understand, and I've worked with major league players for 30 years, is that even these people that are making these mega dollars, those dollars are dollars, and they will take those dollars, and they will happily take those dollars. A-Rod took those dollars to go to, at the time, to Texas. That wasn't on anybody's like bingo card or whatever. And, again, would A-Rod go back now? Maybe. But A-Rod also wouldn't have the money in the bank that he got from them, because if he took less from the Mets or from whoever it was, the Yankees or whoever else was trying to get him.
The only person that, it's funny we're talking about this, the only other person that I felt made a mistake in all my years was Robinson Cano, right? In my opinion, because the Yankees, he signed for $240, right? I think it was $240 he signed for. I think the Yankees offered $190. They probably would have gone up to $2. But I felt like, man, first of all, he hated it in Seattle. It's a known fact.
But he's rich.
No. But he would have been rich with the Yankees. I mean, it's not like the Yankees were giving him like the Yankees were giving him. The Yankees weren't giving him 140. They were going to go up. My point is, all the stuff that you would have had by, like Ohtani, not Ohtani, but like any homegrown player on a big market team. Pete Alonso. If Pete Alonso goes to Chicago, as has been rumored, and let's say he signs with Chicago. If he would have stayed with the Mets, he would have made much more being that homegrown guy, stayed with the Mets, and he would have had much more.
But he wouldn't have made much more. He wouldn't have made much more. He might have made He might have made,
because you're Pete Alonso, you're a homegrown Met. There's something to that. There's something to be a homegrown Dodger. Clayton Kershaw.
There is. But at the end of the day, you're going to make your money. At the end of the day, Lou. At the end of the day, you're going to make your money on your contract, not by being a homegrown Met.
But look at the reality of it. But listen, Scott Boras just said this week. He's like, whoever signs Juan Soto, he's going to be a centurion. He came up with his name, a centurion player for your team. So there is value to. He's adding value to that.
Okay.
But
Lou, I could see. I'm not going to get this point. Is not going going through to you. The money
he's
going to
sign with the Yankees.
I will tell you that I've dealt with. I'm not going to say names. Major league players who've made hundreds of millions of dollars, who literally nickels and dimes were important to them. So if you don't think $10 million difference or a $25 million difference, it means something. You're out of your mind.
No, I agree.
Alternate universe. You are, but you're saying that you don't. So
no, I don't disagree with you, but I don't think that's every single player.
It's not. But I will tell you, it's most players.
It's most. I agree with that.
Okay. What Juan Soto is, we don't know, and I agree with that too. But Lou, the money is the money. And what did they say? What did he say in Jerry Maguire? Show me the money. That's it. They want the money. And by the way, speaking of money, I wanted to talk about Hall of Fame vodka. Look at this bottle. Amazing. These guys are the best. This vodka is, I'm not a drinker, Lou, you're not a drinker either, but everybody who has gotten,
my wife loves
who's been to my house and had Hall of Fame vodka absolutely loves it. It is phenomenal. The bottle itself, check it out online, Hall of Fame vodka. Get yourself some.
Amazing.
Okay, so we've gone way over here. I think we should end it now. Lou, we have other things to discuss. We have to have another podcast coming very soon. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed our day at Hinchliffe Stadium with the New Jersey Jackals. Don't forget the Jackals. Don't forget Hall of Fame vodka. Thanks to everybody for checking us out. We'll see you soon.
Take care, guys.